Okay, good.
All right, so, let's get going. We have, first on the agenda is the minutes. Anybody got minutes?
I do have some.
Okay,
Oh my gosh, I didn't see Rich.
I had something.
okay, go ahead.
So, fussy things, first line, Tim Cook, vice chair, should have a semicolon after.
Okay,
Is somebody marking up a
I'm happy
hard
to-
copy that we could leave for
yeah,
David?
yeah,
Okay.
you mark up the minutes.
Yep.
Okay.
I would suggest that it says members of the public present, we should say none.
Sure,
The second last line of the first item, it should be comma space, not space comma. And then,
Second to last.
so in item one, the third line, it says adjustment for subdivision, and then there's a bunch of stuff in
Yeah.
parens. It should be comma space.
okay, so just
yeah.
indicate that on.
Yep. Item three, John noted that the January sixth is the last. Oh. No, that's okay. Oh, no, the second line, hearing on a proposed adoption or amendment of a zoning ordinance,
Okay,
missing the word a, and then I would change the last sentence to say the board must complete any amendment by the state.
what does it say instead?
It says the board will have to have any amendment completed.
Fine with me.
Second page, there was a general agreement, this is the third paragraph, there was general agreement within the board that roof-mounted solar systems, instead of just with the board.
Okay,
Yeah, I had by,
By would be fine,
yeah, that's.
All right. I'll say by. Last line of that paragraph, in all cases if other parts of the system create a larger footprint, comma, lowercase t, the larger footprint, shall be used.
In all cases, if other parts of the system create a larger, comma, and then
Lowercase t,
yeah,
yeah,
right,
okay,
So,
that's it for me.
okay. So, do you have others, Tim, aside from the
well,
bar?
I just had a question. So, item three, second line, publish notice for first hearing on proposed adoption. I mean, is the hearing on the adoption, or is it just on the amendment?
Yeah, okay.
It's
let me look.
hearing, it's to, pass the amendment on to the town clerk.
So.
Well, the wording on this thing, the zoning calendar says, last day to post and publish notice for first public
Well,
hearing.
that's not even the end date for the hearings, no.
Right, so, I mean, I think your point's well taken, Tim, just to strike the word adoption or. So the first hearing on proposed amendment of,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Publish first notice hearing on proposed on a proposed amendment, on a proposed
You don't
amendment,
propose,
right?
well, you
Okay.
could, yeah, you could say just on proposed
Okay.
amendment.
Yeah,
Proposed amendment of a zoning ordinance is how it would,
okay,
okay,
yeah,
all right,
good with that?
I'm good.
That's
All right,
that's all I have.
welcome, Eric. You're here just in time to vote.
Oh,
On the minutes.
I just am like, yes,
Did you have any changes in the minutes?
no,
Okay. Do you want us to go over the changes in the minutes? They're mostly perfunctory, actually, in fact, they're all
no, I
perfunctory.
don't, that's, I
Okay,
don't, I trust you.
all right. I would like to make a motion to move the minutes as amended by Rich Brown and Tim Cook. Is there a second? Are you voting on, can he second?
All right, let Tim do it.
Yeah, okay, Tim's the seconder. All right, Tim seconds. I will be doing the minutes tonight. And all those in, right, yeah, so all those in favor? Ben, are you in favor?
No, I wasn't in.
Okay, so you're abstaining. So, 4-0, Ben abstains. All right, we have now taken care of item number 1. The second item is our next meeting, you all got that email, is falling on Veterans Day. So the options are Monday, November 15th, Tuesday, November 9th or 16th, Wednesday, November 17th, and Friday, the 12th or 19th. David said he would prefer, he can do it, but he preferred not to do Friday. So any of those days is okay with me.
Okay, John, would you say those days again? I'm sorry, I got behind.
11, I'll just do 11:15, 11:09, 11:16, well, they're all 11:17, 12 or 19.
About the 15th.
It's fine with me, that would be a Monday.
15th, Monday, let's see what the magic calendar here says.
That's good for you, Rich?
Actually, Mondays is a Rebels rehearsal, so that doesn't work. So, I could not be here,
Well, let's
so, but if that,
see, what, is there another time that would work for everybody?
I'm
Anytime
not gonna
except
sign up
for-
for Friday, I think that's a bad day.
Yeah,
I agree, Fridays are not great.
Unless we're having hors d'oeuvres and teaching it out and all that.
Not likely.
Yeah.
So Tuesday or Wednesday would be the 9th, 16th, or the 17th.
No, Wednesdays I'm out,
All right, so Tuesday, the 9th or the 16th?
The 9th would be better for me, cause I can't do the 16th.
Okay, can everybody do the 9th?
yes, the 9th would be
Yep.
fine,
Okay, so,
And so we're canceling which one, the 11th?
yes.
yeah, it's on Veterans Day. So, it'll be Tuesday, 11:09, and I will contact Jordan tomorrow to take care of that. Yeah, and Ben, you don't have to come in, because we have, I mean, if you're more comfortable not coming in, you can,
you just call on that.
yeah, and now you'll be actually, right, Vicky, he'll be able to see?
Yes, he can see.
In fact, if you want, you wanna see how cool it is, you can look at Vicky's screen there to see what everybody,
So,
Oh, look at that. Hi,
so
Rich.
Rich is there. All you need to do is talk and then Rich can see you. And if you talk at the owl picks up your voice better. And then there's a panorama that does the whole room, so if we had audience, the owl does that. And
Does
then,
it record?
It can, yeah.
You can
Then
record.
why are you running that?
cause I always do.
Bad habits.
So can Rich see everybody all the time?
Yes,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yes, I can.
Great.
So that's working well for you, Rich?
Yes, absolutely, it's great.
Good. All right, so we'll move on to item number 3, which is, of course, the solar amendment. We have 2 outlines, one is Eric's, the other is mine.
And I apologize for not sending mine in, but I've got, printed out a bunch of,
Would have been nice to have it ahead of
I
time.
know it would have them. So. I think it's 5.
Do you have a copy that you can send digitally to Rich, so he
Oh,
can,
yes, I do.
I gotta
okay?
share this with you.
And there's actually another person on the line here. So whoever's calling in, do you want to identify yourself for the minutes, please?
They don't have to,
Oh,
but if they want to,
okay.
they can.
I'm happy to identify myself.
Well, who are you?
It's Hebe.
Oh, hello, Evie.
Hebe
Hello,
Quinn.
Hebe Quinton.
Okay, great. So can you hear us okay?
It's kind of garbly. It's got a lot of noise going on, and then there's a lot of rustling papers.
Huh.
Right, okay, well, we'll try not to rustle papers, and,
You sound very clear, and when you said talk to the owl,
yeah,
that seemed to help too.
okay.
Yeah, I think the people closer to the owl, and also we're talking through face masks, so we'll do our best. All right, so, let's see, we've got,
And Rich, the amendment is on its way to you.
okay, so what's the difference?
Thank you, Rich.
What's the difference between yours and
And Eric?
Eric's?
I tried to cut out as many words as possible, just to, and still retaining the sense of it. There's actually one, I guess I should have left track changes on. There's one further simplification we could do.
Wait, what should you have left on?
I should have left track changes on to say
Oh, I
what
see,
what got
okay,
struck.
go ahead.
But,
So I see a difference, which is, Eric has on-site solar energy systems, and you have solar energy systems. So is that an intentional?
No, Eric,
John?
Eric doesn't have on-site.
I think John has on-site.
I
yeah.
left the OSES.
Yeah, both you and Rich left the OSCES, but with no definition, which is
yeah, so
unintentional.
Yeah, that's unintentional.
Yeah, I think it should say on-site.
Well, that's one thing at a time.
Okay, well,
We're trying to figure out Rich's, because we're
So,
just looking at it
uh,
for the first time. Okay, so, and what other changes do you have?
did I hand you the right thing, John?
I'm looking at,
28 October 2021?
Yeah, that's.
I'm looking at it.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
I'm looking
you're-
at it
you're
next to
comparing-
Eric's.
So that's mine over there, yes,
Yeah.
okay. Um,
So, okay, what else besides this solar energy system definition?
So I just took out, that it's a feature of a structure.
Where's that?
So in the initial solar energy system, I took out.
Oh, you took it,
I took it out that it's a feature of the of a structure, and also that it stores the sun's radiant energy.
because,
I don't think it adds clarity. There's nothing, I didn't think there was anything operational that would tell people any more. by
well,
having
I think
additional-
there's a reason for it to say it's a feature of a structure, because that was a lot of the discussion that we were going to have this function at least parallel to
Mhm.
structures.
Let's leave the structure reference in there.
Okay. Because the next point, the ground mounted solar energy system says that it's a solar energy system that's not attached to a building.
Right,
And then.
it's not, it says it's not attached to an existing structure.
Well,
But the solar energy system definition is the prevailing definition. These are sub-definitions.
I agree. So I said, so where I was going with this, let me
Okay.
explain my motivation. Solar energy system, it's something that captures, and maybe stores solar energy. That's, I think, arguably true. I then said, I didn't talk about roof mount at all, because we're not treating it specially in the ordinance. I said, let's talk about the ground mount systems that are not attached to a building or structure. Ground mount a ground-mounted solar energy system is considered to be a structure, and it can be one or more separate structures. So ground mount just is something that's not on a roof or not part of a structure. It's just on the ground.
So, all right, let me get the difference between yours and yours. The solar energy system that is not attached to a building, so that's the same.
Well, do we get into trouble when you, I don't know, did you look at these things here?
Yeah, I did look.
They have, you know, some of those, so if you had like this, the racks,
Mm-hmm,
those are structures.
yep,
So if you say a ground mount is not attached to a structure, then what would that be?
okay.
Yeah, and I would say
Let's
also in
not go there,
terms of not having a definition of a roof-mounted solar energy system, I would prefer to keep it because it establishes it as something that is in one of the things we wanna do is to define things that are permitted.
Yep.
That's how the ordinance works. If we don't mention it, it is not explicitly defined, it could be a problem.
And.
And there's no downside to it.
Well, it's words, but you know my prejudice there. And
Well,
but-
yeah, I don't
but-
agree with it.
But in this case, what I hear you saying is, could a roof-mounted solar energy system not count as an accessory use under 4.42? And so, yes, I agree.
This is explicit, and in terms
Yep.
of using words or not wanting to use the words, this is a permissive zoning
Mhm.
ordinance. So you would not be allowed to do anything if you didn't use words.
Yes, that's taking it to extreme.
Well,
So-
but it's
so
it's not
would
taking
say-
it to an extreme, I think it's the other way around. Things need to be defined, so that they are permitted.
So, a roof-mounted solar energy system, it's a solar energy system that's attached to a structure on a lot, it says to an existing structure.
Sure, a lot, right.
Well, if you take out existing, let's just go over that.
Well, cause then the rack could be a structure, right?
Because then
Say-
what?
Say that again?
Cause this is Vicky's point about the rack could be a structure,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
It
roof
is a
mount, we
structure.
wanna say it's an existing building, right? You don't-
Well, structure is also, there's not, look at the definitions of
Yeah,
building and
that's
structure.
interesting.
okay, so all of these are, I mean, what I think at the end, we need to be able to look at all of these and go, are these all allowed? And the answer, I think we
Needs to
wanna
be
say
yes.
is yes.
Yes.
Okay, here, this is structure, anything constructed or erected with a fixed location above or below ground or attached to something having a fixed location on, above, or below ground. Structure includes but is not limited to a building. So a building is included in the definition of structure.
So, right, and so it should just say, attached to an existing structure on a lot. Yep, I'm happy with that.
All right, so where are we with the first one? I mean, I prefer Eric's definition in both cases.
Okay,
I'm actually okay with Rich's on SES, on the first one.
And what is it, a device that is capable of, and taking, no, I'm not, because I wanna have that structural design feature of a structure, because we need that. I mean, I think we need that, or we
But
might
it's-
regret not having it.
Do we need on-site?
But it's roof mount, if it's roof mounted, it's not its own structure.
No, that's for solar energy system. That's the definition. The first definition is not for a roof mounted.
Yes, I know, but a roof mounted solar energy system is a solar energy system.
Right, but
it's
solar
not
energy
its own
system
structure.
covers things other than roof mounted solar
It
energy.
does.
So can we just say, do we need the word structural Cause where we have structural
take out
and
structural.
so it's just a
Right.
design
A
feature?
device or other device or other device?
No, can we just
And also
say,
A
structure.
device or structural design feature.
or a design feature, can we just say device or
Or
design
design?
feature of a structure?
Yeah, yeah, because that's
Cause it could
redundant.
be
Do you
a
want me, do you
shingle,
want me to edit this in real time
sure,
and save
Okay,
it,
sure.
sure,
rather than everybody
Yeah.
go back and try to
Yeah.
remember what we
That would be wonderful. So a device or design feature of a structure that relies upon sunshine as an energy source and is capable of collecting, distributing, and storing, if appropriate to the technology, the sun's radiant energy.
Yeah. Now, do we need on-site in front of?
Where's that?
no,
Where is the on-site?
No,
Well,
we
you've
don't
got
need
it here.
Oh, well, let's get to that, let's just do the, yeah, I mean, I wrote in mine what I thought. I think we need on-site.
Okay, so we should have that.
Well, all right, let's discuss that now. I laid out in mine why I thought we needed
Well,
on-site.
let's go through these four that we have here, and if, or the three or four. So are we keeping roof mounted?
All right, so is that what everybody wants to do? You want to do the four first?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Well, we're talking about them, so let's.
okay. Roof mounted, okay, so we're keeping that, as in Eric's.
Can we sign and say attached to an existing structure or building?
I think structure is fine, because structure includes building in its
Yep.
definition. And,
so,
and it may not be,
But a septic system is a structure.
it's fine,
well, what if you, I mean,
Uh,
you're not gonna be likely to get approved with your septic system being, well, who knows, maybe there'll be solar septic system.
we could say, roof mounted is like, on a high point of, I mean, maybe that, like, the church, the steeple would be the highest, so I don't wanna say, the highest point, but it could be a high point of a structure.
But we mean building when we talk about roof mounted, don't we? We don't mean structure.
Well,
No, that's not necessarily.
I don't know, like, in the situation where you have carport, is that a building, if it's,
Well,
doesn't have
let's
four
read the
walls?
definition of building.
So but that's certainly a roof, but that's a carport, and I don't think it's a building, I think it's a structure.
Building, any.
Well, what if you have a shed? Is that a?
Shed is a
They're not
building.
It's a building,
any,
yeah.
any combination of any materials, whether portable, movable, or fixed, having a roof and built for the shelter of persons, animal, or property. So carport, building.
Is a building.
Building,
But what about a shed that's not, used,
that's fine, that's a building.
for the shelter of persons, animal, or
That's a,
property.
that's
Yeah.
a building.
what if it's not used for that?
Well, I mean, what else would
used
it,
for?
what it would be used
It's
for?
just a shed, it's an empty shed.
Yeah, but it's really for property.
It's for something though.
Okay, so,
Right.
all right.
I mean, I'm okay with building.
everybody okay with building?
Yeah.
So it would be
Yes.
attached to an existing
Okay,
building.
why do we have to have an existing building? It could be like,
We don't.
I wanna get a new building,
Mm.
so just
yeah.
attached to a building.
That was, the existing was because trying to separate it from
Right.
from
Yeah, okay.
the new
A
structure.
building,
So existing is that, so right now we have roof mounted,
I'll read it because I've got it.
okay, go ahead.
A solar energy system that is attached to a building on a lot.
Okay.
Roof-mounted SESs are not considered to be individual structures, but may modify the building footprint of the structure on which they are mounted.
That's what they hang over, you mean?
Yes,
And are we changing these to lot coverage, or do we want to use footprint?
Well, last time, what I recall is that,
I think David wanted lot coverage, right?
no, I think we switched to footprint. Because
Okay,
footprint,
yep.
footprint would,
Yeah,
yeah.
because it is footprint. And Eric, I wanna ask about the last part of the first sentence there, on a lot. Is there, could we just strike that? I mean, it's attached to a building.
Yeah,
Buildings.
I'm fine with that.
Well, hold on, I'm not, I need to think about
Okay.
that. It depends on whether we add on-site. or not?
I mean, building has to be on a lot.
I mean,
Yep.
buildings,
Okay,
Just
so
have to be on a lot.
nobody sees any problem with that, taking out the lot?
Yeah.
Okay,
We have on site, yeah.
I have one more comment on this one.
okay,
So it may modify the building footprint or height of the structure on which they are mounted.
say that again?
So you wanna add the words "or height" after the building footprint, because it changes the dimension of the structure.
Well, I would say may modify the dimensions of the structure in which they're mounted.
I think we need
building
footprint.
in there, yeah.
I like having those two specific ones.
You
Yeah.
would say dimensions, including but not limited to.
Yes, okay,
So modify the dimensions?
Yep.
Well, I guess it can only modify the height or the.
well, I know, but
Let's just say, for the, then we're just adding words back in, the building footprint or height.
Right,
yeah,
We need building footprints more
Yeah.
clear.
I think that's what David wanted.
Okay.
Okay? So, moving on, you wanna go, Eric?
Are we done with roof mounted?
yes.
Okay, what do we want for ground mounted?
All right, so do you have, Rich, is that yours different?
Slightly, is not attached. So again, I changed it a little bit, a solar energy system that is not attached to a building or structure. I don't,
When you added tracking too, right? to it?
well, one other,
I separated those two as well.
I didn't hear that, what? Eric?
I separated the fixed and the tracking.
yes, and I'm gonna ask one more time if we could consider them both the same. I mean, I know, Eric, you were concerned about footprint for fixed versus the tracking. I don't think they are that much different.
I don't think they are either, but if it's something we can measure precisely, I don't think it's appropriate to use an estimation.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, I made one more plea. It sounds like the answer is no. Thank you.
Okay, so are there any changes to the ground mounted solar?
So that is not, so I said that it's a solar energy system that is not attached to,
Wait
I
a second,
say-
no. Yours,
Yeah,
this is Rich Brown's here? So, the third one, the type of GSCS you put.
Are we looking at this one? now?
no, I'm looking
Okay, so, because you only have three, I see, I'm sorry.
at, yes, right.
I got you,
So,
okay.
a ground-mounted SES is a solar energy system that is not attached to a building or structure.
Okay, so I would like to take off the structure part,
Yep.
because it might be on a pedestal or a rack or, something like that.
Mhm.
So, but which, are we working from,
I'm-
Rich's is a change, or
Yeah.
we're working from Eric's?
Yeah, I like Eric's, because it doesn't mention the structure, it's just, it's separate from a building. And if it's roof mounted, it automatically makes a building.
Mhm.
The building has a roof.
Mhm.
So Eric's first sentence is good with me.
Okay, I'd ask to strike on a lot from that.
How does everybody feel about striking on a lot?
It would
I'm
have
okay
to be
with
on
that.
a lot.
I mean, it has to be on a lot, I
Yeah,
guess, so. probably.
Yeah, because the building needs to be on a lot.
Okay,
And you, so what I have then is a fixed solar energy collector that is not attached to and is separate from any building.
okay,
Mhm.
and then,
For the purposes of the Lyme zoning ordinance, GSESs are considered to be structures. An individual GSES may be comprised of one or more separate structures.
Okay,
Right.
That's it.
okay, and then ground mounted, the tracking, I mean. It's the fourth one on Eric's.
Mhm.
Right.
It's good, I think, and it covers it all.
Okay. How's everybody with that? Any objections?
No, I think the last sentence of the ground tracking,
GTSES is.
yeah, so I would either strike that last sentence because a ground tracking is a,
Type of GS, yeah.
is a GSES, and so we don't have to say that it is. I mean,
Yep.
all the rules that apply. So
Yep, I think that's right.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if we needed,
Oh, yeah, we're just,
So I had a very short one, I don't know whether it's better, but a type of GSES where its collector moves automatically or can be manually adjusted to track the sun.
Mhm.
It's a lot shorter.
Yeah,
I don't have yours in front of me, John.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
I can get it, I just need to.
do you want me to give you this right now? You can just copy it, it's pretty quick. And then- See that,
Oh.
here, just that one sentence?
And
we don't need to say it's considered a structure, we're saying, right?
No, because you already said that
Already said
above.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so this can be like Rich's, bare bones,
so,
no,
and speaking of bare bones, I was working from Rich's and Eric's, so I'd just like to go back to what I had, which was shorter for the
Mhm.
ground mounted solar energy system and see what people think.
Yep.
A fixed solar energy collector that is not attached to and is separate from any building on a lot on which the solar energy collector is located.
Mhm.
You know, either one is fine with me, that one's just shorter, I think.
So you're suggesting this is the ground mounted, the GSES?
GSES,
Yeah,
a fixed solar energy collector that is not attached to and is separate from any building on a lot on which the solar energy collector is located, and can take out on a lot if you like.
and again, I would be inclined to say on which it's located, I mean, it's.
A fixed solar energy collector that is attached to and is separate from any building on a lot. No, because we're dealing with, this goes back to the point that we're dealing with two different, we're allowing systems that are capable of collecting, distributing, and storing.
Mhm.
So I think we have to be specific that the reason for the on the lot really is because these systems are functioning for the benefit of the lot. These are not commercial systems.
That's true.
So that was the reason for on the lot. It's consistent with the, you know, the need for the on-site solar system definition.
well, in that it's repeated on 4.42D. I think everyone has that they're allowed as an accessory use on a lot.
Where's that?
It's, if you get to right after 4.42D,
Whose are we looking at here?
well, I don't have yours anymore, but Rich and Eric both have the fact that it's an accessory use on a lot.
And so do you, John.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
An accessory.
On-site solar systems are allowed as an accessory use to a principal.
Okay, but what about the issue, so all right, so I'm a little confused now. So what is the point that you're making?
I think we don't need to say on the lot in the definition.
Oh, I see, okay,
Because we're
okay,
only allowing them as accessory uses.
got you. Okay,
Is that consistent with everybody else's?
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm, mhm.
So, we're going with, okay, so how do people feel about the ground-mounted solar energy system? A fixed solar energy collector that is not attached to and is separate from any building on which the solar energy collector is located.
Which one?
That's, we decided to go with, I think, with the ground-mounted adjustable or tracking solar energy, a type of GES where its collector moves automatically or can be manually adjusted to track the sun, is that right?
That's yours, right?
Yeah, did we-
That's yours. And I could accept that.
Is that something we agreed on, or are we still working?
I'm happy with yours,
Um,
Eric still has,
I think there's a problem because we're saying that a tracking system is a type of fixed system, which doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Because
That's a good point.
GSES is defined as a fixed array.
That's a good point.
And if we're using this sort of subset, then it gets a little sticky down when we're doing the
Right.
building footprint as well.
Interesting.
Right, that's a
So
good point.
So-
I think we should just define maybe a ground mounted fixed and then a ground mounted tracking, and that's it,
okay,
right? So maybe for the GSES, that
So it's a
should,
fixed.
that should be a GFSES. Ground mounted.
Well, we can just have it GSES, all right, G fixed, okay.
And then,
So GFSES,
yep,
okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So then,
and then tracking is no longer a type of that. 'cause
Right.
it's-
Oh, mhm.
okay, so,
So
A-
a tracking is a type of SES.
right. Take out the G.
right. That's a very good point. Okay, and,
So are we gonna go with Eric's or are we gonna go with yours?
well, it sounded like we were gonna go with ground-mounted fixed solar energy system, GFSES, a fixed solar energy collector that is not attached to and is separate from any building on which the solar energy collector is located?
I,
Is
I
that,
think that last, we don't need the on the lot clause.
right, I left that out.
Right.
Right.
So from any building on which the solar energy collector is located.
Yeah.
Why do
Well,
we
no,
need that?
the on which the solar energy
We don't
collector is
need that.
located is.
Is redundant?
It's
Yeah.
not needed.
well, it's contradictory because it's not on a building.
It only makes sense if you have the on the lot end.
Right,
Okay, so a fixed solar energy collector that is not attached to and is separate from any building.
yep,
Yeah,
Yep.
what
That's,
Eric-
that's pretty
Yep.
economical.
Yeah.
And do we wanna have the sentences about for the purposes of the Lyme zoning ordinance,
yes,
GSESs, GFSESs
Mhm.
are considered the structures?
yes,
Okay, so that's the ground mounted, you have so many things, okay, ground mounted.
That's why I'm
Okay.
writing this down.
Yes, we're going with Eric's.
For the
We're going with
purposes,
the Lyme zoning ordinance.
So for the tracking, my proposition is to use the exact same definition, except we insert and where the collectors move in order to track the sun.
Mhm.
okay, hold on, let me just finish copying this over. GSs are considered to be structures.
You can do individual, maybe comprised of more.
So are we keeping that, an individual GES may be comprised? I thought we decided to,
I think we have to keep it because the ground mount tracking is no longer
Okay,
a
okay.
subset of the ground mount.
Right.
individual GES. Okay, so are we good with those two?
Yep,
I think so.
Okay, so, going in reverse order, on-site solar energy system designed to help meet the electrical needs within the limits of a lot. I wrote why I thought that was important.
Where are we?
This
That's
is John's
on
proposal.
mine, the on-site solar
Mhm.
energy
Yeah.
system definition.
well, don't we mean that they all need to be on site?
Yeah,
I mean,
So-
what I
so
hear.
well, the
We
defi-
shouldn't have it separate then.
well, no, because it's not, this isn't, I mean, maybe the key thing about, in this definition is a solar energy system designed to help meet the electrical needs within the limits of a lot. All of these, even in their names, are SE,
Yep,
OSESs or SESs.
Mhm.
And they're all, by definition, they should be OSESs. They
right.
originally were, and then that got changed.
Well, and so, one of the questions I ask is it important that we set it up, that it be limited to supplying the needs of the.
That was the whole point of how we're doing this,
Mhm.
was to, I mean, I said in
This
the,
iteration,
As
yeah, you read
opposed
this.
to-
one.
You read the
Right,
thing.
yeah, I did, I
As
did.
opposed to commercial, right?
yeah, well, commercial.
But-
We are not, what the board decided, as I recall, is we're not in a position yet to cover that, because we haven't had enough we haven't had any public feedback. And that we talked about possibly doing a questionnaire, and we haven't done our due diligence on it. So, given that the whole purpose of doing this way was to separate them out, I think we need to separate them out.
I wonder if we keep our definitions, cause I think they're good and they're clear, but because this is a limitation, it's kind of like, one of those criteria or requirements, couldn't we just put that in 4.42D, that solar energy systems has to be located on the lot that they're serving, period, all of them, there. So we don't have to repeat it 5 times, and I think that having a separate on-site definition clouds, like
Okay.
this clear thing that we've already done.
So
These-
how would you do it?
I would just put that sense
We have
in
A and B,
as, little, that should be the first. That should be the first, that,
so on-site, OSES and the footprint would be 2 and 3?
yes. So, and
Okay,
I would change, Eric has OSESs are allowed, and I would just say SESs are allowed
Yes.
as an accessory use.
so what would 1 say?
One would say that, SESs may only be
Are design-
located on the lot, that, to which they provide energy or power.
Why not just say it the other, it's a little bit confusing, a solar energy system, the solar energy systems must, okay, I see. Say it again.
Solar
But-
energy
so-
systems may only be allowed on the lot to which they provide energy. That's the simple,
Solar,
But this is kind of nonsensical, because, you don't control where the electrons go, right? And when my panels are cranking during the day,
mine goes
the
net
power's
meter.
going somewhere else,
Yeah, I
so.
know.
yeah, I wouldn't say it that way.
Right.
Okay, well,
Well, and
The point is,
Serving.
the key phrase is to help meet the electrical needs within the limits of a lot.
okay, use those words, I don't have that anymore.
SES is,
Read it to me.
huh?
He's got it on, I think it's on that
Designed to
page that
meet-
you have.
Designed to help meet the electrical needs within the limits of the law.
Well, then we need to have a sense that's like no more than the electrical needs for the lot, right?
No, I don't think we have to.
Well, then why are we limiting it?
We're not limiting it. Well, we're defining it.
In other words, we're not a definition, this is a restriction on solar systems.
Well, you wanted to put it here. The reason it was in the definitions to begin with is what I wrote. I
No,
think
well,
we're defeating the whole purpose of doing it this way otherwise.
Well, I would disagree because
Okay.
all of these are on-site systems, every single one of them, because we're defining them in that way. And in some later year, we'll probably take that out or modify it to allow there to be these other systems.
Right, but that's not now.
That's not now, and that's why I really wanted not confusing with the definition. Restriction should go in the body of the document,
So,
not in the definition.
okay, so again, I'm getting confused. What are you saying we should have in number one?
I don't have your language in front of me, so I can't.
The language I have is a solar energy system, it defines on-site solar energy system, a solar energy system designed to help meet the electrical needs within the limits of a lot.
Then use your words as number one, and we don't call it on-site, we just say a solar energy system, no matter what kind, is
All right, so a
limited.
solar energy system
Yep.
is designed to help meet,
Well, we're not designing them, we're limiting them. right?
Yeah.
all right,
So
is,
how do we say it?
okay, a solar energy system,
Well, you can say design, because we're not designing it, somebody else is designing it for the.
Okay, can we say on any lot, a solar energy system may only provide, whatever your language is?
well, a solar energy system,
What we're saying, or maybe sized, I mean.
no, we're not dealing with size, I don't
Well,
think.
we are, because we're talking about its generating
We're,
capacity.
yeah, we're trying to deal with it without dealing with it.
Well, we're dealing with it by footprint, that's how we're dealing
No,
with it.
yeah, we are, but we're also limiting it to being only so big as,
If we're doing it with footprint, we don't need the on-site stuff.
No,
we don't,
I
we
think
don't,
that's,
we don't.
I think the problem, if you're limiting it, if you can, going back to the, where is that?
Vicky, what if somebody can generate as much electricity
Right.
as they're allowed to with the footprint and everything on their lot, even if it's more
Okay,
than
then
what they need?
then I don't know that we need the on-site thing.
So a device that is capable of collecting, distributing, and storing the sun's energy.
Yep,
So let's just go over the scenarios. If there's no restriction on somebody having then why are we splitting it into two parts?
then I think your whole preamble here, we're not gonna effectuate that at all, and we don't need to say anything about on-site, because we're limiting it by size of the, height and the, building footprint, and, as many kilowatts as you can crank out of that, that's what people are allowed to do.
Right.
And I'm happy with that.
All right, I disagree, but I won't fight you
Well,
on it.
I know what you're saying here.
Yeah, I won't fight you on it, but I disagree.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm agreeing with you, Vicky, that if you wanna fill up your backyard with solar collectors, it would be the same as if you wanted to build a bunch of sheds out there.
Except that, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking along
Uh-huh.
with you, I'm not,
Go ahead.
but I just wanna make sure we know what we're doing here. So, and maybe I was wrong in my preamble, but my thinking was that we are making distinctions between uses for profit and business uses, okay? So if I have a really big lot that I wanna fill up to its maximum, this permits me to have a commercial use, a business use. Because it says that it's capable of collecting, distributing, and storing. Now,
We can't put it in the table, right?
but it gets murky,
But,
But John, if you're making,
you know,
so
when
are
I,
you saying that we're not gonna allow somebody to make more kilowatt hours than they are gonna need for their
Was it
property?
4.1?
We're not saying that, right? And we're
What
not
we're-
limiting the amount of kilowatt hours that they're gonna.
What we're, I
They're gonna
think
produce.
what the intent is to say that you can do whatever you want on your site to help meet the needs of your site.
Right, but then, you know, I think as Rich was saying, last meeting, whatever, if you have 3 electric cars,
You can have your 3 electric cars.
right, but we're not gonna judge how much electricity somebody's
But
gonna
that-
need, right?
That's on their site.
Yep,
What this says is that you can distribute, and there's no limitation on the distribution. And when I talked to David Robbins said, I'll read what he said: "It would be my preference to include the definition of on-site solar energy system. The ordinance is a permissive ordinance, and having it explicitly defined makes it clear as to what is allowed. I am all for clarity, especially in the districts that allow retail and business uses."
yep.
Right.
So it seems like we're wanting this to be an accessory use. The principal use is like a residence,
Right,
or it could be Stella's, you know, a commercial, but they have a principal use, and what we don't want is for the solar to be more principal than the principal use.
at this point,
Yeah.
we're
Yes,
gonna deal
yes.
with that next year.
I understand, but we don't have any limitations on how big an accessory use can be.
Right.
So, but it's limited by footprint.
Right, yeah,
Right.
but the thing is that your footprint could my house is, well, not my lot's a bad example, but some houses are small
Right,
and lots are large,
Right.
and therefore you can get a lot of solar, under the allowed footprint,
right,
yes. So it's gonna appear as though it's more of a, production facility than it is a residential place, because
right.
you have a small
Right,
house
but
and lots of
that's-
solar things.
That's their right.
So as long as, yeah, and so then we need to be able to defend that, is it's still accessory, because the principal use is a residence.
Right, I mean, if the house is on 20 acres, and they wanna create 10,000 kilowatt hours,
Well-
and sell it back to the power company,
Right,
then does that mean that it's commercial, or is that just,
Well-
it's still, we're defining it as an accessory use.
right, so
Well-
they can make as much as their
Right,
footprint
right.
will allow?
Right,
Right.
because
Yes.
it's for the benefit of
For them,
for them,
Even if they're just making money, they're not actually using electricity, but
they're
power
making money,
companies sell it,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And the only reason why we're saying it's really an accessory use is to prevent it from being the principal use.
Right.
So that there cannot be a tract of land that has no other
Right.
use except for solar.
At this point, yes.
Yes,
Right.
yes, so that's why it's important that we designate it as an accessory use.
Right.
Even though-
That's what we
yeah,
had
yep,
decided,
yep,
and that we
okay.
were gonna deal with the commercial uses next year.
Yes,
Right.
or it being a
Okay.
principal use. Okay, so
Can I,
Rich,
can I say something? I'm a little bit confused. I'm thinking that we should include some words that indicate that it's intended to meet the needs of, the electrical needs of the site. I think David I think it needs to meet the straight face test. I think that we're starting to get into solar farms on large lots. And that's not where we're trying to go, right? We wanna do that, but we wanna address it separately. And so keeping something in that allows the intended use to be the power is generated for the use of the lot. Since it's all net metered, yeah, some of it's gonna go in the system, and maybe they don't get their electric car this year, but they're gonna get their electric car, in 5 years or less. But I think that, to say that you can build as many panels as you want, as long as you've got the allowed lot coverage, and as long as you have a small house on the lot, does not make sense for this particular thing. So, that's gonna come later when we get into community solar and commercial solar.
Right. Well, I
And
agree.
so I'm kind of supporting what John was saying at the beginning. I'm not sure where you ended up.
Well, we're
I-
circling around.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rich, except I have a hard time seeing how David Robbins could start arguing with somebody about how much electricity they're gonna need, you know?
Well, I mean, one of the documents indicated that, an average home uses a 6,000, installs a 6,000 kilowatt thing. And so if, and I think that that's out of date because that doesn't include powering cars and tractors and, whatever else. But, I think that, if somebody wants to put up, 300 solar panels, I think that might not meet the straight-face test of what the demands are for that particular lot.
Well, let's back up a little and go over how we got here. We wanted to keep the present way of dealing with things, but have everything explicitly defined. So, right now, under the current regime, you can fill up your lot with 100 sheds. It would not,
And you will be able to, as far as we can see, we don't have any intention of changing that, do we?
no.
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 So, I mean, that's the point I'm making, is that right now, people can max out their footprint or lot coverage, whatever you wanna call it. So, that originally was what we all said, okay, well, we're gonna keep that. We're not gonna fight that battle. That's fine. Or, maybe it isn't fine, maybe we do wanna look into that, but, that's what we all agreed to, is we're gonna keep that. But we said we were gonna split it into two approaches, which we've now gone over many times. And the second approach will be the commercial and the large array stuff. So I think I don't think I know David has said that he doesn't wanna be in a position of saying, I don't think there is an easy way for somebody to say, well, you're exceeding the use.
Right.
There's no way to pin that down, but by defining it as, where is it, I can't even find it. Designed to help them meet electrical needs within the limits of a lot. Just makes it clear it's not a business use.
I agree, and I think that should be kept in.
I agree, well, yeah, you and I.
Yeah, no, I agree also, but I can foresee somebody wanting to have generate a lot of
Yeah,
electricity.
I don't think we can realistically limit that.
Right.
Because it's making a distinction between, anything else that they're gonna put up. People can put up whatever they want, within the definitions, that maxes out their footprint.
Right.
And so we're just treating this the same way. And I agree, Rich, Maggie, that there are some concerns about that, but on a practical level, I don't see a way around it. But I think it's crucial to say that, it's to help meet the electrical needs within the limits of a lot, or we're getting into really murky waters that are come back to bite us when somebody says, well, it says here, I can distribute this. And we can say it's not in the table, but they can say, I don't care, you said, we're just making trouble for ourselves, which is, I think, why David Robbins said what he said. He wants the clarity of the definition.
I'm gonna make it harder for you, John.
Oh, go ahead. That's never happened before.
Yeah, right. What if, somebody's got two parcels and they, I don't know, the auto mechanic doesn't have enough space to put any solar panels on, but he uses a lot of electricity. And he's got another lot where his house is, and he wants to put a lot of solar panels on
He
it,
can do that.
but if we run into the question, if we define it as on the lot, and there are
Well,
separate parcels.
let's go over
I
that,
mean,
so the auto, what are you saying, like, no,
let's, the
whatever.
local manufacturing.
A local
plant.
manufacturer has a house and then,
A separate lot.
A separate lot.
And a separate
with
lot.
his shop on it.
so on the house with a lot of land, he can generate as much as the lot can bear, which
Right.
we're saying is a lot.
Right,
So he can sell that back to the grid,
to the power company,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
so,
Okay.
But not with the on-site definition though.
That's right, I mean, that's the problem, if it's if it's limited to the use on the lot.
So can we add, some language, so, is, to help meet the electrical needs within the limits of a lot and include that you can sell back to the grid?
No, you don't want that.
Right, 'cause
Okay.
then you have a huge.
You guys,
you have a
I
huge thing.
really don't see how we're gonna be looking into how is David, we're not giving him any clarity
That's what I'm
by,
saying.
Okay.
by
So
setting this parameter.
then let's just say, like, in a lot of situations in every town, that everything's not gonna work out perfectly. And to stand everything on its head, because in one instance, you know, somebody's not gonna be able to max out their usage, doesn't make sense.
The other is that, look at it from somebody who wants to install, the neighbor thinks solar panels are ugly, and then goes after David for making a bad decision about how many solar panels are appropriate.
Well, that's why we wanna have, that's why I think, and David thinks, that we wanna have it defined as on-site, so that it's just
I
clear.
think that goes the other way, because now David has to defend what the
Right.
needs are on that property.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, that's
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
think we
I
want
can
to.
have, I would build 5,000 gigawatts,
Okay,
because
so
I have 10
let's- so then
cars,
let-
and
then
then
let's-
David has to decide whether that's reasonable.
Yeah, he's
Just
gonna
bring
No,
it
no,
up.
it's not,
Arguing with them.
it's not a question of reasonable. If somebody has a car and they're, solar, designed to help meet the electrical needs within the limits of a lot, we can change the wording, but the point is, there has to be a distinction between this and a commercial use.
Well, that's the difference
Yeah,
between
okay.
accessory
Accessory and
and the
principal.
principal.
So explain, if I'm somebody who is maxing out on my lot with solar stuff, and I come in and I say, I have the right to, set up, you know,
10,000.
yeah,
Well,
And I'm-
what's the limitation on, there's a limitation on building footprint, okay? So that
Right.
is your limit,
Right.
and that's your limit.
so then why are we doing this in two parts?
Because a solar farm is different.
Solar farm sits on its own lot by
Its own
itself.
lot.
Okay, so
It's a
you're
different
feeling
use.
like this is fine.
But what if somebody wants to put a solar
I-
farm on their lot with a house on it? They have a house and 30 acres, they wanna put a solar farm.
And it's
So-
limited by the building
building
footprint.
Right.
Just
And-
like if I wanted to
Yeah.
put tennis court, this bowling alley, the swimming pool.
Okay, so
it's
Not
out.
lot coverage.
It's
Mhm.
limited by the.
The footprint is part of lot coverage.
Right,
But-
but they got 30 acres. so
Okay,
they
but
can
let's
have a
go,
huge-
let's go through the
Oh.
scenario. So you have a lot of lot coverage on your lot. You know, you have a lot,
Big lot.
and you decide, I wanna max this out with solar panels. What are the implications of that as we're doing this? And without the on-site definition?
I mean, I'm gonna bounce that back to you, because I'm okay with it.
Yeah, but tell me, what can that person do and not do?
They can do what you said, they can max out with solar panels if they want. If they find it profitable to sell to the grid,
That's fine with me.
that's okay.
Well, interesting.
So you're
Go ahead.
limited.
Yeah, I think that's a big,
But
So-
what if they, decide that they're, we were making distinctions here between net metering setups
Mhm.
and solar farms. What is the distinction?
Well, so part of the solar farm is probably, it's a community power or
Doesn't
it's
have
a-
to be.
It's a group metering, or it's
Or it's
something
just
like that.
no, it can just be a business.
Well, I mean, right now, we would restrict that, if this is accessory use to your residence or to your whatever, then that's an accessory use. If you go and you do group net metering, or you do community power, or you do any of those things.
Right.
As if you're selling it to anybody else.
If you're,
Everybody's selling
it
it.
sort of hangs on the definition of, are you selling it to the power company to store it up and I get it back later, or am I selling it to you and you
Yeah, I hear what you're
and
saying.
you?
Right.
And maybe that's a distinction.
Right, right.
That,
So, okay, so now I'm starting to think differently, which is, and don't hold me to this,
okay,
but I'm just asking because it's an interesting way of looking at it. So, if somebody maxes out on their lot and they decide, I want to distribute this as a net metering thing,
To the power company.
well, net meter, I'm not an expert on net metering,
Yeah.
but net metering's a little bit different, isn't it? You're
Yeah, there
gen-
are different rules for residential versus, I mean, I'm
They limit
not
you,
an expert, yeah.
they limit you, and
who limits you?
the power company, they don't accept, they only have so many like recs that they sell every year, and that's how we don't have solar all over the state, because it's just a limited amount. And remember, it had to go back to the New Hampshire legislature to up the amount of those energy credits that they could give out. And that was creating deadlines, like I think for one of our solarized projects anyway.
So Vicki, you're saying that the power company's limiting what they will buy back?
Yes,
What they will pay for?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Right,
And,
and they don't pay much anyway.
no, they don't, and that's the other thing, payback is not like 3 years, it's not a business investment.
No, it's a long
I mean, if you
term.
happen to like goldfish, you can, have as many goldfish as you want. If you happen to like solar panels, you can have as many as you want. It doesn't have to be economically feasible for people. I mean, they could just generate
We've
power because they want.
established that, you can
Right,
build
Right,
to
right,
your
right.
max.
But, we do have this limitation on building footprint. It's not more than 7,000 square feet in other districts. So it's limited. If you look at 514, the building footprint is limited, the B. So it's not just, 2% of 200 acres, or something like that. If you go to page 40, building footprint, the maximum building footprint shall be the percentage of the lot as provided in table 5.1, or as follows, whichever is smaller. So you can only have 7,000 square feet, including your house and your garage, for building footprint. It's limited to 7,000
In
square.
Well,
that's in certain places.
Right, in our residential districts, which is, I think, where we're having the most heartache about having the rural area covered with solar panels.
right, oh, that's interesting, so there's actually two limitations, you're right, Vicki. The maximum building footprint is 2% of the lot size, or 7,000.
Square feet,
But-
whichever's smaller.
Yes, but you could have multiple 7,000 square foot
Building.
buildings
Okay,
up to, and this is where the lot
Right.
coverage comes in.
right, right.
So that you're still limited by 26,000 square feet
Right,
of lot coverage.
yep, which is half
But
an acre.
that's a good point.
Yep.
And
Is
so
that
that's
it's 26,000, not 7,000.
Right, but that's only half an acre.
Is that right? That's
It's only
right.
half an acre.
So maybe, I'm starting to, you're convincing me.
Yes.
I don't wanna say I'm totally convinced, but
No,
you're.
I know, but it's not that it's really
Right.
not as devastating as it sounds like it could be because of the dimensional controls
Right.
that we have in
So
place.
no matter how much land you have, you can only put 26,000 square feet on it.
Total.
Total,
And
and
only
it sounds like,
And each array can only be 7,000 square feet.
But
Right.
it's gonna look like more than half an acre because you have, you know, the one rack that's,
Right,
whatever, this big,
yes.
and there's space in
Space,
between
yes,
all four
yes.
sides.
Yes.
Right, so it's gonna be,
Right,
It's gonna be.
it'd probably be the equivalent of an acre.
right.
Right, but,
Well, you could measure the perimeter of the array, the
Yeah.
whole array.
right.
Limit
Yeah.
it to a half
Although I
of
think,
that.
we're gonna have, use the footprint of each of the arrays
Because,
and add them up.
The state argues against footprint because as far as permeability goes, it's only the post.
Right, yep, right.
But
Well,
and it sounds like the way things are right now, it's unlikely to happen because it's not gonna be financially.
Unless you're a
feasible.
hobbyist, you could be a
I mean,
hobbyist.
Yeah.
it's allowed right now and nobody's doing it.
Well, that's,
Right.
that's what we're
Right.
dealing with is,
Or you could just add the line, or if your neighbor squawks.
Yeah.
well, that would never happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I'm gonna come back to this, though, I still think that we're being way too permissive, and, my sense is, if I wanted to get an investor to do a community solar system, you know, one of the things I read in there was, you know, an average system uses about 350 square feet. And trackers are more efficient, so they would use even less. But at 350 square feet, that's 80 arrays, and that's just too excessive for a lot, I think. And, you know, to allow it to occur without any, you know, without any restrictions and reviews, I think that that's not what we're trying to do at this point. But yet, it's my understanding that I could get investors, I could put in a system, and if I got commitments from my neighbors, they could suck power off of my panels. And that's not the intent of what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to allow a single-family home or maybe a business to generate the power that they would need for their facility.
Right.
And so I think we really do need to indicate that, keep that definition in there. And yeah, David's gonna have a little bit of a hard time if somebody proposes something that doesn't meet the straight face test, but I think that that's the intent of the zoning,
Well,
is to help protect people, their neighbors.
To that point, I'm not so sure that it would be difficult for David, because, you know, as things stand, there are all sorts of things in the ordinance that are done on trust. I mean, David's not going into every house and looking at what people are doing.
Right.
I think the issue is, if we had an on-site definition, you know, that is to the limits of the lot, it would be pretty clear if somebody had a business arrangement and a contract, you know, that would be self-evident, whereas if somebody's, you know, doing something that's more subtle, well, they'd probably get away with it.
So suppose there is a business arrangement, would that then trigger site plan review?
And then it's commercial.
Well, since it's an accessory use, it really shouldn't happen.
Well,
Is it-
so, I mean,
I think that's what we were saying before.
We don't do single-family reviews. That's not allowed by state statute. So as long as the principal use is a residence, single residence, we don't get involved.
But what if you're selling the electricity to other people,
Then it could
commercial.
trigger a site plan review,
right.
because it's a business, and it's an
It's a business.
intensity of use.
Well, then we're gonna have to regulate it as a business. It's
Right.
not an accessory use to
But
a
that,
single-family
but that's what we're gonna
residence.
do next year, anyway.
Well, yeah, but we can't regulate stuff with single-family homes being the principal use.
So,
Anyway,
I think what you were
you're
saying,
You're saying no matter what.
No matter what, you read the statute. Single-family homes are not regulated by site plan.
No, I'm not talking about site plan,
Yeah, but as
but,
soon as they step across the line.
that's right.
Right.
It's no longer a single
Well,
family.
so-
Well, okay, so when does maple sugar production go across the line with it's your, you know, it's an accessory use to your principal use as a residence? I mean, nobody's looking at what you're generating, and you do woodworking, and I do consulting out of my house. You know, so we all have other uses, but it's not the principal use of our properties. The principal use is that we live there. And secondarily, we have accessory uses that are home businesses or whatever. So, you know, you better.
Right, but if you, let's
Better
use, let's
define
use
it.
the accessory, accessory use of a home business. If you have
Employees.
employees,
Right.
you are no longer a home business.
Right, but, okay, so
Or-
what
or-
if,
or
I
there's a
don't have an
number.
employee, but I use my house for my,
I do
my
too.
business purpose, and so does Ben, and so
Yeah.
does Eric, and probably everybody does.
Yeah,
Okay, so what's the
but if I,
difference?
but the difference is, scale. That's the
Okay.
difference.
Well, if I have solar, you know,
No,
if solar
there's a
panels are
definite
not,
point, there's a definite
employees.
point when something becomes a business.
okay,
So
I mean,
maybe,
That's
not-
not, that's
after-
not the scale of the solar panels, it's how many, it's employees.
it's employees.
well,
But you wouldn't
or-
have any employees if you had a
Right, well,
solar panel.
I
so-
mean, so what if James Mitchner lived here, and, you know, he makes millions from writing these thick things?
He would have to have a cottage industry, he would be cottage industry, he would.
Okay,
right, and
why,
he'd be fine.
'cause he's got
But, so
employees?
let me come around,
Cottage industry.
let me come around on this a different
Yeah.
way. I think if you do have a community, power, I'm not getting the names right, but
I-
group net metering or community power, or you have some agreement
Right.
with somebody other than the power company,
Right,
then that's maybe not, maybe that's a separate business, maybe that triggers the site plan review and all. If you're just, for whatever reason, you're gonna put up 25,000 square feet of solar panels and sell it back to the power company because you think you should,
yeah, I think,
So we're
I
not
think
limited.
most of us are saying that, we're, you know, that's pretty much the existing state of things with the
Right.
structural.
and.
But I think we're, you know, I agree with Rich Mengy, it's not ideal.
Yeah, that's
But-
what Rich is saying, I think that it's.
Well, let me just,
Mhm.
that's not ideal, but that's kind of the status quo. And if we wanna reinvent the wheel, we can go back and do that.
Mhm.
The main issue I'm having is that at a certain level, it's no longer an accessory use. And it's not just employees, if you look at cottage
Mhm.
industry, it's how it impacts the neighborhood. And I think we're just throwing that out.
Well,
Well, you can address it.
I think we should address, that's my point, is I think it has to be addressed, I think there should be, if this definition of on-site solar system isn't good enough, then let's change it.
It can be sold to no more than 2 other houses or something.
Yeah, some sort of sense of,
So how is David gonna enforce that? I mean, that's the problem,
Yeah,
that, I don't understand that, how that,
well, I don't think,
Well,
actually, I think it's self-evident, if, again, David does not go into houses to see if he's not an inspector. But if it's clear that somebody has set up an LLC for, and there, you know, there's paperwork, and that becomes public knowledge, they are in violation.
They're in violation because.
It's no longer an accessory use, it's a business.
come on, you know, I could have a big fat contract for doing work, I mean, which is what, you know, or set up an LLC and be operating that business out of my house.
Come on, there's such a distinction, you know,
Well,
that's,
I understand that, but
There's such a
okay,
But I
distinction.
think that it's.
what are you doing in your house that's
The
gonna
distinction,
affect?
I think, is
Red flag would be suddenly seeing more arrays than you would expect for. a
yes,
house.
but I think that's prejudicial against solar. Right?
Hmm.
Why are we picking on solar and not on
Well,
someone who's a
I'll tell
musician
you,
and has an
I'll tell
LLC
you
in their
why,
house?
I'll tell you why,
Right.
because if
There's money
you
in it.
or all of us have a business, and we get, if you get to the point where you're having employees or whether you don't, you'll see in there that once it has an impact on your neighbors, it's regulated differently.
so kind of.
We've got signs, we've got employees,
Yeah, cottage industry.
We've
is-
gotta have off-site parking and off-street loading and no utilization, storage, disposal
What
of
page is
toxins.
that, Vicky?
So page 23 has cottage industry and business use, and just looking at the things that we regulate, when we, go from having a home occupation
Right.
or something you would be accessory to your home,
Right,
into these other things, and they, so we start looking at signs, employees, making sure you have at least one dwelling unit, off-street parking, off-street loading, and no hazardous materials.
And none of, it doesn't seem like any of that would apply to,
No, it
Well,
doesn't.
why doesn't just the size of the arrays be the limitation?
That's what we're trying
That's
to
what we're
say is
arguing
fine. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine,
I mean,
I agree with you.
I'm on
Yeah,
that
I'm
side.
on that, I'm for the size.
Cause that solves any problem.
We can measure that.
so when you say the size, what the general consensus has been is that you can max out your lot, your lot coverage.
we're treating it just like any building, basically.
Well, you can treat it any way you want, because you're writing rules.
Right,
Mhm.
so,
you
but
can
you're,
You can limit that to a smaller size if you want.
what do you think?
I think that, solar obviously needs to be encouraged, but
Right.
it doesn't need to be encouraged at the expense of the neighbor.
Right,
Right. Yeah.
well, that's the line we're trying to find, it's, as you can see, it's not easy.
Well, a half acre, on a large, exceedingly large lot is not extraordinary.
Mhm.
If
Right.
it's contained, that it's
Well-
not an irregular shape that goes all over the lot.
Right, and maybe it's screened, maybe there's some.
But we're not, actually, the way we're doing it is somebody could put one here, put one over there.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
you contain it, you make it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, I think those are issues.
Yeah.
But even if it's the pure accessory use, only for use on the lot that you're going for, and I have 4 electric cars, I need a big array, I could still sprinkle them all over the place.
Right.
Right.
But what I think Ben is saying is that, is that good policy?
Well,
Well,
spreading
no, but
all
we're
over.
still allowing that to happen, so if we
Yeah.
wanna prevent, if that's what we're trying to prevent, then we need a lot more
It's not,
language.
this is a question that, was just raised, is that good policy? Because it's,
To allow it to be sprinkled,
look,
no, it's not, but we're still allowing it, though, we're not
let-
preventing that.
let's,
In any case.
let's just remember what we're here for. We're here to create good policy,
Yes.
okay? So, is this good policy?
I'm gonna say yes, it is.
Okay.
I'm gonna say, Vicky's argument, this is just like a shed. I'm buying into that more and more. I think the economics are such that people aren't gonna do this. I think we have we do have the protection of lot coverage, 12% of the lot. There's not a lot of lots, that's not true, there's plenty of lots.
There's plenty of lots.
But there's plenty of lots that could have 26,000 square feet. But the economics don't argue for that. I think the other thing is a practical matter. You're not gonna put one rack over here and another rack over there because you gotta tie them together and the electronics and the ditching and the conduits.
It would not make
It
sense.
wouldn't make
Yeah,
sense.
I
So
agree.
I think we're not,
It doesn't mean people won't do it, or somebody might not do it, but I
somebody might
agree.
not, but I think,
I agree.
and I think our experience that there's not hundreds and hundreds of people marching down here and saying, I gotta put solar panels in.
Right,
I think this is a nice set of constraints. I think not worrying about on-site will work out okay. I think if somebody said, no, I'm going in the net metering, in the community power business, it's like, wait a minute, that's a
Business.
business, that's a primary use. If you're just selling it back to the power company, we're happy with that, God bless you. If that's financially attractive to you, go ahead. And I think, let's see what happens. I don't think, we currently would allow 26,000
Right.
square feet
That's
already, and
what I was
it's
saying.
not happening.
That's the existing
And
standard.
so let's just say, let's codify this so David has a little bit better notion of what's allowed. And we'll see, and it has the other benefit that we're not really restricting it, we're not coming up with a bunch of rules that constrain it.
What we're
So-
trying to do here is encourage it reasonably.
Mhm.
Right.
And what we're trying to find is the line of reasonable, and that's what, I mean, I think this is a really good discussion.
And I appreciate everybody speaking
Well,
out.
I think it's,
I'll throw one other curveball, which is I'm now looking at the wind
Right,
ordinance,
Uh-huh.
which we allow small wind energy systems as accessory uses, okay?
right,
And a small wind energy system is defined as a wind energy conversion system consisting of blah, 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 and will be used primarily for on-site consumption.
right. And it also has a fall line.
It's fall line. Yeah. There are obvious differences between the two, but
Not, well, yeah, they're different types of energy systems, but it says it's for on-site.
I was like intrigued by the checklist and like, which of these steps are we doing? Like, yes, we did step one, we got definitions. And then we got, step two, we exempt it from, we make it a permitted use. We did that,
Mhm.
so that's good, and that's everywhere. Then, but we're kinda go step three, exempt it from certain development standards, and I think we're not doing that. It's got to follow development standards. We're not gonna put them in wetlands, we're not gonna let them have an exceptional height, we're not gonna let them exceed the lot coverage that we already have. So we've gone along two steps, and, I would not say that we're being overtly or, too permissive, because if you just look at these
So
solar-friendly steps, we've stopped only at the second step.
Let's go back to Eric's point about
The wind,
the wind, because I was here when that was a state format.
Right.
And then we just,
Right.
fit things in, so it was a state law, basically.
Yep.
And then we followed it, and you had certain options, but it says on-site, and why would they say that?
well, that's wind, and I don't know why they said that, and I don't know
Well,
why
I
you
know it's
adopted
wind,
it, but,
this is solar.
that's a much less popular technology, I will say.
Yeah,
And it's much different, than solar, which you can put on your roof, or, pretty easily in your backyard,
yeah, the wind
compared
is
to the
noisy.
wind. It's a much bigger deal.
Yeah, it's much
they're much
different.
more visible.
Mhm.
Well, they're a lot noisier. I mean, to have one of those near your neighbor is really different.
They're bad for
Solar.
birds.
Yeah.
so, from this discussion, I will say that, I felt very strongly about the on-site thing. And I've moved all the way to, now I'm not so sure. So I found the discussion very helpful, despite the fact that I'm not sure. I don't know that we're gonna nail this down tonight, but I think we've certainly gone a long way.
Well, it seems like, is there anybody who would not support an amendment that had no on-site considerations in it? I mean, is there one person who's like, I'm not supporting that because I need to have that on-site provision in there?
I felt that way, but now I don't, now I'm not sure.
Okay. Cause I buy into your preamble totally, but I don't see functionally how we can actually make that happen in a fair way. And I don't know what limits to set to be really clear, cause I don't want somebody coming in and David saying, no, you've got too much or something like
But
that.
okay,
You know,
so,
so
this is
I-
gonna take me back to
Yeah.
my prior thinking,
Yeah,
but I don't see that as a problem at all.
we put him in a bad
I
situation,
don't,
and I think
that's
it's
not what he
ambiguous.
thought, he thought the opposite.
Well, I don't.
Because he's not in charge of, he's not an investigator.
Right, well, then why do we have a rule where you would even
We
need
have rules
investigation?
because people are supposed to follow them. When they
Right.
break them and the town becomes aware of them, they're in violation. But we don't have police going out and looking. And that's not just with solar, that's with everything.
Yep,
So I don't see that as a problem at all. Yes? Yes? I told you not to call me at the office.
I don't know what that was.
Are we still, is Rich still there?
Rich is still here.
And
He's
Hebe's
still there, that might have been my computer.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, thank goodness.
Sorry.
And Hebe is still there?
No, she left a
Oh,
while
she left,
ago.
I don't blame her. You can drive anybody
John,
away.
it sounds like we're,
So I wanna go back to address that. I've moved from there somewhat, but your concern that David's gonna have to regulate that is unfounded. He's not gonna have to do anything, anything differently than he does with any other ordinance in here. If he becomes aware of something clearly, then it becomes an issue for the town to enforce.
Well, the town doesn't enforce, I'll say
Well, let's not
that.
go into that.
Well,
It's the
I'm gonna say,
response.
so why would we even put it in there?
Well,
It's not
this
gonna-
whole
Well,
thing-
there's a reason to put it in there, and because they read it and on face value, they take it
And
as what the rules.
everything in here is there for a reason. And if you're gonna say, well, then let's not do anything because we don't have a police force going out there, I think that's not right.
You know,
We're-
there, when I was gunsmithing, you'd get a customer to sign a release of liability. Well, they ain't worth the powder they're written on, if a lawyer takes all of it and goes after you.
Mhm,
But it does stop 99% of it,
mhm,
and that's the reason we
mhm.
put it in.
Right.
So I think I may be able to support one that doesn't have on-site. I need to think that over, but having the on-site thing, as Ben is saying, is not a problem in terms of, enforcement, otherwise David wouldn't have said what he said.
yeah. I mean, it sounds like we're,
We're
We
very close, we just need to nail down these last things.
I just didn't wanna get to having a draft that then next week, or whenever we get together, somebody's like, I can't support this, and we're, really
Look,
getting close to.
if
public
everybody
hearing.
on this board is, I'm willing to have a certain degree of discomfort to come together on this. I am concerned about it, but if you're all,
you're concerned about.
I'm concerned about not having an on-site definition.
Well, I think that we have both sides well represented, and we've discussed it, and we do the best we can, and we throw it out. We want to have people who want to come and have the on-site provision, and we wanna have the solar people come and hear each other. So, and then we get to,
We have to hammer it out.
Yeah, then we get to hear what they say. I mean, it's one thing or another that we put out there, and what we need is the feedback from people.
Yeah, so I mean, on that basis, well, again, let's just look at this realistically. In the time of even not in the time of COVID,
Right.
but in the time of COVID, we got Hebe.
Right,
She showed
well,
up
I think
tonight.
because Rich asked her to come,
Oh,
so,
is that right?
No, I did not.
oh, okay,
Nope.
Well, anyway, she showed up.
that's
That's
good.
one person.
Yeah, yeah.
If we got 10 people to
Yeah.
show up, we'd all think that was a good turnout.
Yes,
But realistically,
Oh, you gotta have a real scandal to get everybody out.
That's for sure.
no, but they could all go on the owl,
yes,
We could have 100 people, but are we gonna get them?
well, I
Not
mean,
unless it's an issue, and
if-
this is never gonna be an issue.
Right.
if somebody thinks that this is really way too much for our nice town, then hopefully they would
So
and complain.
one person shows up who's like furiously against it.
Mhm.
Is that really gonna change things?
Well, if he's got good arguments, and he can persuade us, it will.
Well, Right, and I think it's incumbent on us, if we're gonna solicit public opinion, to beat the drums, make it really clear.
Well,
We
we're
wanna,
open to-
we
we're
wanna
open to everything.
encourage solar, we want, and we're stuck on this question. On-site versus we don't care.
I mean,
And not commercial, we're not ready for commercial.
Right.
but-
Right,
Right,
right, people need to understand that, totally.
And, you know,
Well, what I see is, I think that the solar, the energy committee's not gonna be happy because we haven't gone beyond step 2. And the other people are gonna be unhappy because we're not limiting it to on-site. And so if we have both groups kind of unhappy, then we've hit a good
we're,
compromise.
we're always gonna have both sides unhappy.
Okay, well, that's just like one way of looking at it, so not, and it's just like we've made that compromise here.
So it sounds like, other than the on-site issue, we're pretty much there.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so,
think we should, I was gonna say, I think we should go over the building footprint language too.
Okay.
Because
Yep.
we haven't done that.
yes.
right, good
And-
idea.
And Eric, in 442, I would say, solar energy systems are allowed, not on-site, but just solar.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
just
Yep, okay.
copy and paste.
All right,
Good.
yep.
Um,
Okay, so where are we?
They're the same.
The building
I
footprint.
don't know what Rich's has, though.
This is
I
for
think
fixed.
they're
They're the same, right?
substantially the same.
Yeah, Rich replaced lot coverage with footprint, we wanted to use footprint, is that right?
We decided to use footprint.
Right,
Right.
So, let me just go through,
So it's the drip line for fixed, and it's the 70% for movable.
but when you're saying the drip line for the GSES,
Right,
the GSES is the
Fixed one.
ground mounted, no, which one?
We're talking
Fixed.
about ground mounted,
Well,
Ground
hold on,
mounted
hold on,
fixed.
in I, we now have GFSES,
Yes, correct.
so is that a GFSES?
Yes.
yes.
So we're saying for ground mounted solar energy systems that are not, that are fixed, the drip line
that's the
of its solar collectors, so we're not defining the 70% there.
No, it's the movable ones, it's 70%.
Okay, so if the angle is like that, how is that measured?
it's the
Drip line.
coastline.
We go to the drip
Coastline
line and you just
Yeah.
measure the
Right,
drip, okay.
that's for a fixed one.
And, so if you have, unless another part of the system has, okay, that makes sense. And the building footprint of a GTS shall be determined to be 70% of the total surface.
Right.
Well, what if the
So if it's,
tracking system is on a support system that's larger than that? It should have a similar thing.
Okay, sure.
Unless another part of the system, blah,
but
blah,
it
blah, blah.
would never be that way.
You don't know. People can do anything.
Well,
Tracker on a gigantic concrete
Yes.
slab.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the fact is, we're using it for something that we're not supposed to be using it for anyway, so it really doesn't make much difference.
I didn't follow that.
Well, the footprint is gonna be larger. We're worried about permeability, right?
Right.
And the state's comment was, you shouldn't be worried about that. You shouldn't be restricting because of that. We're doing it to put a limitation on,
We're doing it to make it consistent with the rest of the zoning, really.
right, but we're not doing it for the scientific reason.
No,
for lot coverage.
So.
no, we already have provisions for the scientific reasons, which are limitations, with the wetlands and.
So does it really
permeability.
matter if you've got a tracking unit, is the base is 6 feet or 3 feet?
So
Yeah.
so it does matter if we're using building footprint and lot coverage
Yeah.
to get the size.
Because if somebody's
If
putting
it's
up,
only the pole, then you can really go bananas with them, right? If it's only the footprint of the pole, then you can put in
A lot.
tons of
Well,
them.
they'd be
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
on top of each other. almost.
So we're saying
But you're
that-
gonna measure, what the size that you come out with from the drip line is gonna be larger than any base.
Then the pedestal, yes.
Yeah.
invasive
So
But
we're-
that's not,
That's what I'm
is that
saying.
necessarily
So
true?
Ben, we're saying if there's a
Yes.
movable
Well,
line
most-
and it's
mostly.
10 by 10
Mostly.
feet,
But if
That's
somebody,
100
but
square
if
feet.
somebody, you know,
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
the
yeah.
actual
people build their
panels,
own
100
things,
square
and
feet,
they
then we're
build this
saying
huge
we're
thing.
gonna count it
Popular
as 70
mechanics.
square feet.
Yeah, so,
Yeah,
so,
I understand
so
that,
then
but
we're,
what
I mean, I
I'm
have a
saying is
friend who just bought a house, which is
It doesn't really
completely,
matter what the size of the
invented.
pedestal is. because
nothing
you're
works, it
getting
looks
your-
like, you know, a mad
your
scientist did it.
70% of
And they're
your
having to do
calculated
everything
area.
over.
Right, and
So it
presumably the
happens.
pedestal's gonna be a
So if
lot
somebody, you know,
smaller
wants to be creative and they're gonna build their own
than the
solar
panels,
system,
so-
and
If
they have
you're
a
really
big,
worried about,
Right.
why are we
They might.
exempting that
Actual
from,
No, we're not, we're adding the second
Yeah.
clause in.
Okay,
Yes,
so we're
I
adding
like
that.
that, in which
Okay.
case the greater lot coverage measurement, yeah, unless, you have the
Yeah,
unless.
so we'll add unless,
Yes,
Got that?
yes,
and then
all
we're,
that,
okay,
yes.
so we're good.
Yeah,
And one other, thing, issue that I thought of was, do we need to add any language to, so if we're talking about a roof mounted system that protrudes and increases the drip line of the structure, do we need to give David any language to deal with that? Or we
You
just
know,
gonna
I'd like
leave it
David
alone?
to be,
We
he
did
said something about,
well, we have it in
We
the
have it
definition.
somewhere.
Yeah, we have it in the definition of roof mount, may modify the building footprint or height of the structure on which it is mounted.
So he can
Right.
figure it out
So
from
it's
there.
already there, yeah,
Yeah.
Because someone could conceivably even just do like a
yeah.
cantilever
longer
shed
e-
roof
yeah,
that,
yeah.
you know.
Yep,
Yeah.
could change the eaves.
and you'll be able to see out of your second story window.
Who needs that anyway, right?
Is there a problem?
yeah, I mean, we're, you know, one thing to keep in mind, I mean, I think I mentioned this last time, is, yeah, probably nobody will ever do this, I hope, but we're allowing 35-foot, ground mounted structures.
Yeah, but we don't care if they burn up, we're worried about the actual structure burning. It's
No, I'm not
that-
talking about burning, we're allowed, you know, we have a height limit of 35.
Yeah, but that's limited by the fire department and
Right.
their ability to put
Yeah,
the fire out.
right.
Right, so our maximum height is 35 feet, and we're saying there's nothing in here to keep a ground-mounted solar system from being 35 feet high.
Well, but it's declared as a structure.
Yeah, it'll still be a structure, it's just like a really weird
Aren't
structure.
structures limited to
Versus the
35 feet?
building.
Or buildings?
The buildings you can't have over 35 feet.
Yeah.
Right, but you could build a 35-foot high, solar panel
Yeah, you could, under this.
under this, under what,
So,
I mean, I don't know why anybody would, but
So what?
you could.
Let it
Wow.
burn.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, that's right, I mean-
Visual, I think it's a visual thing, not
Yeah.
so much the fire. a
Yeah, it's
visual.
not the fire issue.
Well, that goes into the ridgeline district.
Somebody-
right.
It's its own ridge line. All right.
So,
Sorry.
are you guys at all, I mean, I read through this, I thought it was all really helpful. There was like one thing in here about, saying no part of the system may cross into the setback. You know, if it's a tracker, is that self-evident that it would not go into the setback?
Well, don't we, isn't that already laid out? You can't go into the setback.
Well, you know, if it's a tracker, so when it's, you know, horizontal.
Right.
And then it can't hang over into the wetland setback, and it can't hang over into the
Right.
side lot setback. So that's what we understand this.
That's what I would understand.
Me too, okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted to be sure.
Does anybody not
That we don't have to
think of it that way?
restate that, okay.
All right,
that's
so we're
good.
all clear about that.
Good, okay.
Okay, yeah,
I just wanna talk a little bit about the historic district. Reading
okay,
through some
then
of that.
just give me a second. So we're done with this for tonight?
Yeah,
And really, we're pretty close.
yeah, no, I think after the November meeting, we should have a hearing in December,
Sure.
why not?
And we can even have extra hearings. so-
And then we have another one in January,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, so,
All right, go ahead.
So, hold on,
Oh,
I
no.
have what I have, down here, I'll send to David as part of the notes.
Okay.
minutes.
Okay.
Yeah,
perfect,
Okay.
thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm happy to do it.
you look happy, I think, or at least your eyes look happy.
You know, it gives me, you know, it relaxes me to know that it's being written down and
Right.
not passed down
Right,
Wrong.
three miles and then
Yeah.
handwritten
Yeah.
and then typed.
right.
Yeah,
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Tim.
So I was noticing in some of those publications about historic districts, and it says at one point, roof-mounted installation should be allowed by right unless located within a historic district where some level or a review may be required. And I think there was a whole section on that in there, and they were talking about they can't be visible from the street, and they need to be behind the house. So I just wonder whether we need to have any kind of requirement.
I mean, I think
in a
that's,
historic district. I mean, it's,
that's something we can
because one, yeah,
ask for public feedback
because
about.
one thing to think about, I mean, it's possible that we're gonna be spending between $2 and $3 million to get rid of the power
Yeah.
lines and
Yeah.
all this stuff around the common.
Yeah,
And then to kind of put all this, put a lot of solar panels up, it seems
Okay,
like
so
we're
why are we-
negating the whole thing.
why are we letting Tammy put her generator right next to her front fence?
Oh, is she?
It's already
Yeah,
there.
she did, yeah.
It's been
But
there.
it's already,
notice
because it's
Yeah.
been there, it's been there for decades.
Yeah, well, I mean, so,
But this is different, this is very different.
oh, it is?
Yeah, because this is new, that's something that's been there forever,
So she's grandfathered in.
yeah.
I didn't even notice it. But anyway, I just,
Do we have other rules and regulations regarding the historic district?
No, we don't have any rules or regulations.
Yeah.
So we'd have to create a new district, which would be the historic district, which
well,
is.
there is an historic district.
We
It's
have
already-
two,
It's
but
already defined.
it's a
already-
National Register Historic District, but
Right.
it's not in our
Not in the
zoning. We'd
ordinance.
have
No,
to
it's not in the zoning.
define a new zoning district
Right,
to have that enforced.
right. Well,
I'm
we
not
can-
saying it's a bad idea,
Well,
but
I think
I
that
think it's
we should
going
discuss it on whether it's a good idea, if we need to do that, we would do it, but is it a good idea?
I mean, I think.
Well, that's how you get everybody to show up to the hearing.
I think you're right.
Maybe
No, I think,
They propose allowing solar collectors on the green.
well, I think,
Yeah, that would- yeah.
I think if we say, in the notice to the hearing that one of the things, whatever the outstanding issues are, we should feature in the announcement. One is historic district, and the other may be, the on-site stuff. I think that's so, thank you for bringing that up, Tim.
well, I would say that there are many more important things that should be in a historic district ordinance than messing around with solar panels. I mean, you can tear down the house, you can, build a modern cube in its place. I mean, so the south side of the common is where everyone's gonna have it in their backyard anyway, they're not gonna put it in their front yard. So really what we only care about is the front yards on the north side of the common. So, that's, for solar, that's really all we need to worry about.
Yeah,
So-
but I think it says in there somewhere too that roof mounted should not be seen.
Well, they're not gonna be on the north side of the houses, for the houses on the south side of the common, they're gonna only be on the
Right,
south side.
Probably not, but.
And so what we're regulating is only those on the north side of the common. So if many of them are, at least the Mundy's old house is gable front, and then I think Jack's house is gable front. So that's not, they'd want trackers
Right,
in their front yards.
well, down Route 10, down toward Nancy Grandine's, all those houses too are part of it.
Well, would be,
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's
Well,
something,
so what do people think about that?
I just think you're gonna have a lot of people that are pretty concerned. And it may not be an issue, as Vicky says, it may not be an issue,
I
I
think
don't
it's only
know,
an
but.
issue for north side and some of the people on the going south, but nobody has any solar panels on that first section of Route 10. They pass the school before you get to Bailey's.
I don't know of any.
Well, let's just say, as a disclaimer, say past performance is not,
No, I'm
indicative
just
of-
wondering why not, I mean, really,
So how does everybody feel
I
about
think
it?
the Davises do, and that's it.
oh, they're back
If they're
up,
back,
yeah.
Oh, before we get distracted, we're getting close to 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
Here we go.
so, but is anybody concerned about what,
I'm concerned, but I would rather regulate other things first if we're gonna start regulating the
well,
historic
let's not
districts.
go,
Well,
but
that's-
is anybody's level of concern high enough to seriously consider that?
To consider a zoning district?
No, to consider dealing with the issue that,
I think I need to hear public feedback strongly.
okay,
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think if it actually happened, where people were putting in solar panels that in the historic district, that were really right there, would be concerned, but it may not ever happen, so it's one, who knows?
all right. So I'd like to, Rich Mengy, you still there?
Yes. Still awake.
Yes, I am, yep.
All right, well, thanks for hanging in there. I'd like to make a motion to shut this saloon down for the night. Is there a second? Okay, I've got a bunch of seconds. All those in favor, okay.
I will send these off to David. His
That's
amendments.
the minutes from last time?
Minutes, yes.
Okay. And I will send these to him. 8:50.
I mean, we allow cars in historic districts, so I'd rather see the cars go.
Cars go, well, it depends what kind of
Oh,
car, right?
that'll be popular.
Well, it's not quite the same thing, but.
Which would be more of a nuisance.
So Ben, if you'd rather not come